Have you ever walked into a room and instantly forgotten why you went there? Not slightly forgotten, completely blank. 1 second, the thought felt important enough that you were sure you'd remember it. The next second, it vanished like your brain deleted it without permission. Then comes the awkward moment. You just stand there staring around the room, hoping the thought suddenly reappears while pretending everything is completely normal. And somehow, the more you force yourself to remember, the further away the thought seems to get. Most people laugh and say, "My memory is so bad." But psychology says something deeper is actually happening. Your brain probably isn't broken. It's overloaded. A lot of people think memory works like computer storage. Like your brain neatly saves information into folders that you can instantly open whenever you want. But the human brain doesn't work that way. Your mind is constantly filtering information, prioritizing thoughts, ignoring distractions, and deciding what matters most every second of the day. And sometimes, while doing all of that, it accidentally drops the thought you were trying to hold on to. Psychologists call this perspective memory failure. That sounds complicated, but it simply means your brain temporarily loses track of something you plan to do or say. This is different from forgetting old memories or facts. It's about trying to hold an intention in your mind while your brain is already busy handling multiple other things at once. And honestly, your working memory is much smaller than most people realize. Your brain can only actively manage a limited amount of information at one time. That means when your mind is overloaded with conversations, emotions, responsibilities, distractions, worries, notifications, plans, and random thoughts, eventually something gets pushed aside. Not because you're unintelligent, because your brain has reached its limit. And strangely enough, something as simple as walking through a doorway can make this even worse. Researchers discovered that people are much more likely to forget something after entering a different room. Why? Because your brain treats physical locations like separate mental events. The moment you walk through a doorway, your brain subconsciously closes one mental chapter and starts another. It's basically trying to organize information more efficiently. The problem is, sometimes the thought you needed gets left behind in the previous mental chapter. That's why you walk into the kitchen and suddenly think, "Wait, why did I come in here?" Your brain refreshed itself before warning you. But this doesn't only happen with physical spaces. It happens during conversations too. You start explaining something important. Someone interrupts you for 2 seconds. Your attention shifts slightly, and suddenly the entire second half of your sentence disappears. Completely gone. What's interesting is that this happens a lot to people whose minds are constantly running multiple thoughts at the same time. These are usually people who are thinking about several things at once. What they're saying, how they sound, how the other person is reacting, what they should say next, what they forgot to finish earlier, whether they replied to that message, whether they remembered an appointment, whether they left something undone. Their brain isn't quiet. It's overcrowded. And anxiety makes this even harder. Stress affects the part of the brain responsible for memory retrieval. So when you panic about forgetting something, your brain becomes even worse at finding it, which creates a frustrating cycle. You forget something. You panic because you forgot. Then the panic makes remembering even harder. And honestly, the experience itself feels ridiculous sometimes. You start staring into space like the missing thought is physically floating in the air somewhere nearby. I literally just had it. Meanwhile, your brain contributes absolutely nothing useful. Then later, usually when you stop trying completely, the thought suddenly comes back on its own. Out of nowhere. Like it was never missing at all. That's because the memory didn't actually disappear. Your brain simply lost temporary access to it. Once your mind relaxes, the mental pathway becomes easier to reopen. And there are actually a few things that genuinely help. One is returning to the place where you originally had the thought. Environmental cues can trigger memory retrieval because your brain connects thoughts to locations more than most people realize. Another helpful trick is saying things out loud. Speaking creates an extra mental pathway instead of forcing your brain to rely entirely on internal memory. And honestly, writing things down immediately is probably the most effective strategy. Because deep down, most people already know their brain is carrying too much at once. And if this happens to you often, it probably says something important about your mental state. It usually means your mind is handling far more than people around you can see. Your brain is constantly multitasking, planning, analyzing, remembering, processing emotions, managing conversations, predicting outcomes, filtering distractions, trying to stay focused while carrying emotional pressure at the same time. That's mentally exhausting. So forgetting what you were about to say doesn't automatically mean your memory is failing. A lot of the time, it simply means your brain is overloaded with too many mental threads running simultaneously. Your mind is making rapid decisions every second about what deserves attention first. Not perfectly, definitely not conveniently, but very humanly. And maybe that's the part people need to hear the most. Sometimes forgetting things isn't proof that your brain is weak. Sometimes it's proof that your brain has been carrying too much for too long.